tranquil on the outside, furious on the inside. No, I'm not. I'm getting over it. It's getting better. But it's been a frustrating journey. And the journey is still going on. So I'm over here by that palm tree. There's another palm tree. And boy, are they nice to be around in January. Stuff that's less nice is that this stuff that happened way back. If you haven't seen my previous videos, in 2024, end of September, there was a big hurricane that hit this area, and it flooded like 50 to 100,000 homes. I don't even know the number. And we had 8 of our rentals flooded, and that sucked, but we were able to act really swiftly. We had good people lined up that we could contact, so we got help and labor coming in, and we gutted the houses, got the insulation out, dried them out over a few weeks, changed out all the outlets that were below the water line, and then built it back in, and we were set and ready to go again. Most of our renters stayed. The ones that didn't, those units filled up quick because of the lack of units after that storm. And we thought that was it. But then a few months later, January last year, friends of ours started emailing and calling and saying, yeah, did you get that letter? I said, what letter? The damage letter. There's damage letters going around. I said, I don't know, I don't think I've seen any. And then I finally found them online. They never sent them to us from the county. It said that Fema and the county have decided that all work being done in the flood zones, meaning the areas where they think the water went, all that work needs to be permitted. And if you already have done the work, you need to do after the fact permits. And it kind of sucked, but it was all, you know, it is what it is. We figured we'd just get it done, and we had all the receipts, and we had all the people that had helped us lined up, and everything was ready for that too. So we started going to work with it, but then they changed the rules, and they decided, more or less FEMA especially seems to be the hard ones, that to get your permit processed, they kind of decide how much money you spent on the house or on the renovation. So like us having our receipts for labor and for material and all the stuff we used, that stuff wasn't the truth. The truth was how much they thought we used. So we had to put in the number of drywall they thought we put in the houses, the number of electric outlets they thought we put in the houses, and if we put in the honest number, they just said, no, that's too low, you need to up it. And the reason they did that is because they wanted to look like we did the most expensive renovation possible. Because if we are over 50% of the house value, the value of the structure, not the lot, just the structure, they by law have the right to tear our houses down, which is an outrageous thing altogether. And this is on our houses where we have no debt, but also carry no insurance because the premiums are really high in that area. And given what happened and our actual cost of fixing it, that decision has turned out to be right. But then this stuff started with the permitting and all the after the fact stuff. And that has got us caught in a place where like we just can't get ahead. So what we had to do is we had to get appraisals on more or less all our houses to show that the value of the structure is much higher than the county and FEMA said. That way we have even though we're using FEMA's high numbers of renovations, we're below 50%. Sadly though, it doesn't really end there. So even though we got appraisals, that puts our houses on the right side of the 50% renovation to value. They're gonna store these numbers, and they'll use them against you if there's more hurricanes coming. So if you having to do more renovations after another flooding in, let's say, 2 years, they're gonna add those numbers together. So basically in the end, they're gonna be able to pressure you to demo your house and rebuild it, like elevate it or demo it and rebuild one that's elevated, which is what they want in the end, I suppose. But it's tough. Like, it's tough when you're not carrying the insurance or being part of the whole system. So it's basically just like stealing money from our private pocket, and that is not very nice. So before we jump into the actual status of our own permit, I wanted to give you a quick update on the permit process in general, because that keeps changing too, which is to me is a disastrous way of doing it, where you keep changing the rules as the game is being played. But what happened is we own our rental properties in a S Corp, and we needed to go and get licensed contractors and electricians and plumbers to inspect all our work that we did, even though we used a lot of licensed people when we did the work. For this new permit, we need new licensed contractors to go in and put the permits in, get them through with the county, and do all the... Sorry, I'm not quite... It's so pretty here, so I'm sort of preoccupied with that, I guess. Well, with our permits, since we own them in a business, we're having to add a licensed contractor to do the permit, and then we need licensed electricians and licensed plumbers to go out and do a lot more work than we already did, because they changed the rules along the way to where, like, you don't just need to replace what was there in a good functional condition, you need to update everything you've touched to the latest standard. So if you touched one outlet, all the electricity in the whole house must be up to the latest code. So that adds a bit of work, and it adds a lot to the bill, and we've now had to do that. So I have a really good GC, general contractor, that pulls the licenses for us, and he's checking over the work being done, and he's been partly involved in the work that we did previously, so he knows all about the renos, and he's like the guy for the structural part. And then we have a licensed electrician who does all the electrical work, and that's a lot more than we did when we fixed them up from the flooding, because, you know, basic thinking was that, like, okay, the stuff that was exposed to water we'll replace and make sure it's good again. But now they changed the rules to, like, if you touched one outlet, everything in the house must be up to the latest code. And same goes for plumbing. If you changed one sink, all plumbing must be up to the latest code. So we had to do a ton of work with the electrician and plumber, and that's costing a lot of money too. So altogether we're spending a lot more on getting these how nice it is around here. We're spending a lot more money on getting our permits and getting these things just approved to exist than we did actually renovating them after they flooded. So there's a part of that makes me really sad, that, like, we have to spend a lot more money trying to prove that our houses are okay than we did actually making our houses okay. It's tough. I got so fed up with the county and all the permitting and all the stuff where I can't get anything done that shows progress. So I started a new project, or at least I can see some progress. With that, we have 3 out of the 7 permits done, printed, put on the houses. We have started work on one of the units where the electricians should be wrapping up tomorrow, and then we're hopefully going to be able to schedule the inspections. You start with rough inspections where the county comes out and look at the electricity, the plumbing and the construction, and then you do a final inspection. By the rough, they'll tell you if you need to do more work or if stuff needs to be updated. And then when that's done, they come back out for final, and if the final is approved, we can close that permit. So number 1 in the making, 3 more are printed. On the last 4 or 3, we're still having to fib the numbers to make them pass through Fema, meaning we have to lie about having spent more money than we actually did. And as a result, we also need to get appraisals on them. So that's the current status. And then this video will be another part in this long series that turned out to be much longer than I planned for them to be. I thought this would be done quick. But yeah, this is it's been quite the aftermath from that hurricane, and it's very sad that the hardest and worst part is Fema, who are supposedly there to help, but they're sure not helping. They're just making everything worse. With that, thank you for watching. Time to fly out to the next adventure, and See you soon.